who is this stupid God?
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, The Atlas of Everything, your definitive guide to the wonders and realities of existence. We map the vast landscapes of human knowledge and imagination, from the birth of a star to the fall of an empire. What we explore: our universe, cosmic phenomena, alien theories, and the science that explains it all. Our world, deep dives into history, geopolitics, awe-inspiring animals, and gripping documentaries. Stories, the lore of ancient texts, Bible, iconic movie scenes, music, and the mysteries that linger. Machines, the evolution of warfare technology, and the strategy behind realistic war games. Join us on a journey through every corner of reality and speculation. Subscribe and begin your exploration.
President Fidel Ramos, Sir, salamat po sa tulong mo making me President. President Joseph Ejercito Estrada, Senate President Franklin Drilon and the members of the Senate, Speaker Feliciano Belmonte and the members of the House of Representatives, Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court, His Excellency Giuseppe Pinto and the members of the Diplomatic Corps, incoming members of the Cabinet, fellow workers in government, my fellow countrymen. No leader, however strong, can succeed at anything of national importance or significance unless he has the support and cooperation of the people he is tasked to lead and sworn to serve. It is the people from whom democratic governments draw strength, and this administration is no exception. That is why we have to listen to the murmurings of the people, hear their pulse, supply their needs, and fortify their faith and trust in us whom they elected to public office. There are many amongst us who advance the assessment that the problems that bedevil our country today, which need to be addressed with urgency, are corruption, both in the high and low echelons of government, criminality in the streets, and the rampant sale of illegal drugs in all strata of Philippine society, and the breakdown of law and order, true but not absolutely so. For I say these years are more symptoms of a virulent social disease that creeps and cuts into the moral fiber of Philippine society. I sense a problem deeper and more serious than any of those mentioned or all of them put together. But of course, it is not to say that we will ignore them, because they have to be stopped by all means that the law allows. Erosion of faith and trust in government, that is the real problem that confronts us. Resulting therefrom, I see the erosion of the people's trust in our country's leaders, the erosion of faith in our judicial system, the erosion of confidence in the capacity of our public servants to make the people's lives better, safer, and healthier. Indeed, ours is a problem that dampens the human spirit, but all is not lost. I know that there are those who do not approve of my methods of fighting criminality, the sale and use of illegal drugs and corruption. They say that my methods are unorthodox and verge on the illegal. In response, let me say this. I have seen how corruption bled the government of funds which were allocated for the use in uplifting the poor from the mire that they are in. I have seen how illegal drugs destroy individuals and ruin family relationships. I have seen how criminality, by means all foul, snatched from the innocent and the unsuspecting the years and years of accumulated savings, years of toil, and then suddenly they are back to where they started. Look at this from that perspective and tell me that I am wrong. In this fight, I ask Congress and the Commission of Human Rights and all others who are similarly situated to allow us a level of governance that is consistent to our mandate. The fight will be relentless and it will be sustained. As a lawyer and a former prosecutor, I know the limits of the power and authority of the President. I know what is legal and what is not. My adherence to due process and the rule of law is uncompromising. You mind your work, and I will mind mine. malasakit, tunay na pagbabago, tinud-anay ang kausaban. These are the words which catapulted me to the presidency. The slogans were conceptualized not for the sole purpose of securing the votes of the electorate. Tinud-anay ang kabaguhan, mao kani ang tumong sa atong gobyerno. Far from that, these were battle cries articulated by me in behalf of a people hungry for genuine and meaningful change. But that change, if it is to be permanent and significant, must start with us and in us. To borrow the language of F. Shunet Jose, we have become our own worst enemies, and we must have the courage and the will to change ourselves. Love of country, subordination of personal interests to the common good, concern and care for the helpless and the impoverished. These are among the lost and faded values that we seek to recover and revitalize as we commence our journey towards a better Philippines. The ride will be rough, but come and join me just the same. Together, shoulder to shoulder, let us take the first wobbly steps in this quest. There are two quotations from revered figures that shall serve as the foundation upon which this administration shall be built. The test of government is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide for those who have little, says Roosevelt. And from Lincoln, I draw this inspiration. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot help the poor by discouraging the rich. You cannot help the wage earner by pulling down the wage payer. You cannot further brotherhood by inciting class hatred movement. My economic and financial political policies are contained in those quotations, though couched in general terms. Read between the lines. I need not go to specifics now. They shall be supplied to you in due time. However, there are certain policies and specifics of which cannot help wait for tomorrow to be announced. Therefore, I direct all department secretaries and the heads of agencies to reduce requirements and the processing time of all applications from the submission to release. I order all department secretaries and heads of agencies to remove redundant requirements, and compliance with one department or agency shall be accepted as sufficient for all. I order all department secretaries and heads of agencies to refrain from changing and bending the rules of government contract, transactions and projects already approved and awaiting implementation. Changing the rules when the game is ongoing is wrong. I abhor secrecy and instead advocate transparency. in all government contracts, projects, and business transactions, from submission of proposals to negotiation to perfection, and finally to consummation. Do them, and we will work together. Do not do them, we will part sooner than later. On the international front and community of nations, let me reiterate that the Republic of the Philippines will honor treaties and international obligations. On the domestic front, my administration is committed to implement all signed peace agreements in step with constitutional and legal reforms. I am elated by the expression of unity among our Moro brothers and leaders and the response of everyone else to my call for peace. I look forward to the participation of all other stakeholders, particularly our indigenous peoples, to ensure inclusivity in the peace process. Let me remind, in the end of this talk, that I was elected to the presidency to serve the entire country. I was not elected to serve the interest of any person, any group, or any one class. I serve everyone, and not only one. And that is why I have adopted as an article of faith the following lines written by someone whose name I could no longer recall. He said, I have no friends to serve. I have no enemies to harm. Descending, therefore, I now ask everyone, and I mean everyone, to join me as we embark on this crusade for a better and brighter tomorrow. But before I end, let me express the nations, on behalf of the people, our condolences to the Republic of Turkey for what has happened in the place. We offer our deepest condolences. Why am I here? Hindi kasali ito dyan. The past tense was, I am here because I love my country and I love the people of the Philippines. I am here, why? Because I am ready to start my work for the nation. Thank you and good afternoon.
Mind you, Human Rights Commission. Tarantado talaga. There is no law. There has to be law. Do not keep on complaining about my mouth because my mouth is not the problem. It cannot bring down a country, but it can erase a generation of right thinking Philippines. Ang issue dito hindi yung bunganga.
Nung nabasa ko yung EU condemnation sa akin, sabihin ko sa kanila, fuck you. France, Britain. Tapos yung EU ngayon, as the goal to condemn it. As again, I repeat it, fuck you. We are a nation na napakaraming addict. Itong Amerika, itong mga EU, itong mga progressive countries, they kept on hammering the issue against me.
Sabi nila marami na 3,000 na daw ang patay. Hindi na lang inisip namang ulol na to. Putang ina nila. Para maintindihan ng mga putang ina. Pero walang itong pare, pero hindi sila kasali sa putang ina. Alam mo, hindi naintindihan nila. Sabi nila, Duterte, may death penalty noon. Wala man nangyari. Ganon rin. Bakit mo gustong ibalik? Ulol. Hindi ka naman tarantado. Hindi ako ang presidente noon. Sino nagbigay sa iyo ng karapatan na patayin mo ang anak ko, i-rape mo? Dito sa kabila. Ito, makinig kayo, Amerikano. Bugokski. Ito dito. Anong kasalanan ko sa iyo? Kayong mga gangster, kayong nasa Pilipino na kinig, yung mga putang ina ninyo, kinig kayo mabuti. Kaya kayo namamatay, ganito. Anong kasalanan ng Pilipino? Look at the history books noon sa amin. Who discovered the Philippines? The answer was Magellan. Anak na. Kung ako ang presidente noon, sampalin kita pag ginawa ko. Kaya lahat ng adik, sira ang ngipin, nag-grind, nag-upo tapos kung magkapera, magbili na siya. Kaya sabi ko, puta, bantay kayo sa akin. Hindi talaga ako papayag na sirain ang bayan natin. Lumabas yung Human Rights, State Department, Obama, EU. Ginanon ako, and every time they said, we will cut our assistance. Sabi ko sa kanila, putang ina ninyo, huwag mo kaming gawing aso. Gago ka ba? Hindi, walang resibo. Basta hingi na lang yan. Kung matuto kayong magsabi, ako'y Pilipino, putang ina mo, huwag mo akong lukuhin sa bayan ko, letse ka. Mo, yan ang turo ng seminar ni Duterte. Kaya ako, pati pa itong EU di puta, tang ina, isa ring ugok, some lawyers of EU, nulat-tulatan ako that I could be, ang masakit dyan, ganito, putang ina nila. Ganon ninyo, paano ang mga Pilipino sa labas? Nandiyan na nga, nagpakahirap na, tapos that we will cut the assistance. Putang ina, iilo ninyo yung pera ninyo. You know what is an ilo? That's a piece of paper when you run out of toilet paper, you wipe out your ass. Goddamn. Bullshit kayo. America, does that control the economy now? Displays that he is the most powerful industrial nation in the world. That's a lot of bullshit. Pareho man kami, may mga kabit rin. Sila, bispo, ako, mayor noon. Mga pare, putang ina, buisit. Pamoral-moral na, ako ang magpakulong, trabaho kayo. Pero pag nagkamali kayo, do it, mag-kidnap ka on the pretext of drug, putang ina mo, papatayin kita. I have dissolved Davao Vice. Ang kawayan ng mga yan, gagon putang, paghuli na babae, dalhin sa opisina, gamitin, kunin pa yung pera. Ginamit ni Dilima, who was, I said, for almost so many years, the chairman of the Human Rights. Reklamo ng reklamo, bunganga ng bunganga, Wala namang ginawa ang putang ina niya. Ngayon naging senador, daldal ng daldal. Kung presidente ako, lekturan ako ng putang ina niyang raportor. Tapos sabihin ako yung you know, there is no crime at all in the Philippines which says I cannot threaten criminals or else I will go to prison. Sa Davao ako, ngayon sa mayor. Kaya ang tamang Davao maganda. Patay naman lahat, pero maganda. Kamatayan, tangin ng ngayon, buisit. Paano ka mag-alaga ng putang ina kung gano'n sisirain mo yung mga bata? Animal kayo, papatayin ko talaga kayo lahat. Tayong dahan. Ayan, medya, wala akong pakialam. Sabi nila ako daw pinaka-unpopular sa international press. Wala akong pakialam, putang ina ninyo. May problema ako sa bayan ko. Usap namin si Kerry. Okay naman siya kasi nag-away kami nung ambasador niya. Ambasador yung bakla, putang. Buisit ako dyan. May isa akong judge dito, sinipa ko talaga. Sinipa ko sa opisina niya. Kick him. Ayaw magpirma. So nagdududa ako, yung mga pulis, apurado. Ang putang inan to, leader. Nagsisirbato ito doon sa kabila. Sabi ko, Judge, putang mo, sipain kita. Sabi niya, sige, sipain mo. Pumunta ako doon sa opisina niya, sinipa ko. Aga, ikaw ngayon. Gusto mo, barilin kita? Sabi niya, wag. Lagi. Tangina.
Yung Rodrigo Duterte.
Pre-trial Chamber 1 concluded that there were reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Duterte is criminally responsible pursuant to Article 25(3)(a) of the Rome Statute as an alleged indirect co-perpetrator for the crime against humanity of murder.
The Duterte Age of Darkness is a critical phrase used by opponents and human rights advocates to describe the presidency of Rodrigo Duterte, 2016 and 2022. The term is a pejorative that reflects a perspective viewing his administration as a period marked by significant human rights abuses, erosion of democratic norms, and a climate of fear, often in contrast to his supporters who viewed his tenure as a time of strong leadership and necessary reforms. Human rights concerns. The centerpiece of this view is the war on drugs, an aggressive campaign that resulted in thousands of deaths and drew international criticism for human rights violations, with critics alleging the targeting of the poor and a disregard for due process. Erosion of democracy. Critics argue that Duterte's style of governance, which some have described as strongman politics or authoritarian, undermined democratic institutions and accountability. This included attacks on the judiciary, media, and political opponents. Impunity and injustice. The term reflects the sentiment that his administration normalized violence and made corruption invisible and injustice acceptable. The perception was that power was governance. International criticism. The human rights situation under his presidency led to international scrutiny, including an investigation by the International Criminal Court, ICC, for crimes against humanity, which ultimately led to an arrest warrant for Duterte in 2025. Suppression of dissent. Concerns were raised about the treatment of critics and the muzzling of independent voices, leading to a restricted space for civil liberties. On the other hand, supporters of Duterte's administration highlight accomplishments such as a decrease in crime rates, a massive infrastructure program, build, and economic reforms, all of which contributed to his consistently high approval ratings during his term. Arrest of Rodrigo Duterte. On March 11, 2025, former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte was arrested by the Philippine National Police and Interpol in Operation Pursuit under an International Criminal Court (ICC) warrant charging him with crimes against humanity related to the Philippine drug war. Duterte arrived at Ninoy Aquino International Airport in Metro Manila on March 11th after attending a political rally in Hong Kong. Once the warrant was executed, he was held in custody at the nearby Villamore Air Base and then transferred to the Netherlands, where he is expected to face trial in The Hague. The operation was largely planned by Police General Nicolas Torre. Duterte was indicted on charges of crimes against humanity, which include extrajudicial killings during his tenure as mayor of Davao City and as president of the Philippines, until the country's withdrawal from the Rome Statute in 2019. He is the fifth Philippine president to be indicted and arrested, following Emilio Aguinaldo, 1945, Jose P. Laurel, 1945, Joseph Estrada, 2001, and Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, 2011. He is also the first Philippine president to face an international tribunal and the first leader from Asia to face trial before the ICC. Duterte was arrested amid an escalating feud between the Marcos and Duterte political families, although President Bongbong Marcos himself expressed melancholy regarding the arrest. Analysts have described Duterte's arrest and surrender to the ICC as remarkably quick and trouble-free, as well as a seismic precedent-setting event that could inform how other criminally charged world leaders would potentially be arrested. Launch of the ICC investigation. Main article: International Criminal Court investigation in the Philippines. Rodrigo Duterte was investigated by the International Criminal Court, ICC, for alleged crimes against humanity. The investigation covered Duterte's links to the Davao Death Squad, which is estimated to have killed at least 1,000 people since the 1990s, as well as reports of extrajudicial killings of alleged drug dealers and users during his presidency, limited to the period before the Philippines withdrew from the ICC in 2019. In 2017, Filipino lawyer Jude Sabio submitted a 77-page document to the ICC titled "The Situation of Mass Murder in the Philippines," accusing President Duterte and 11 other officials of mass murder and crimes against humanity. Similarly, then-Senator Antonio Trillanes and members of the Magdalo Party list, led by then-Representative Gary Alejano, filed a 45-page supplemental complaint requesting charges of crimes against humanity, supporting Sabio's earlier filing. The ICC's jurisdiction in the Philippines applies only to the period when the country was a state party to the Rome Statute. November 1st, 2011, March 16, 2019. This includes nearly 3 years of Duterte's presidency, during which the Philippine drug war was at its peak. The Supreme Court of the Philippines, in a 2021 ruling, commented on the withdrawal from the Rome Statute and stated that the Philippines still has an obligation to cooperate in the ICC proceedings. Climate during the Bongbong Marcos presidency. Edit. See also Bongbong Marcos, Marcos Duterte, feud. Under President Bongbong Marcos's administration, the government maintained its stance of non-cooperation with the ICC investigation. However, by 2024, it acknowledged that it could not prevent investigators from acting independently. In November 2024, the Philippine government reaffirmed its stance on the ICC, but stated that it would surrender Duterte if he were indicted, citing its obligation to Interpol. Preparation for Duterte's arrest. In May 2024, the Department of Justice began briefing President Marcos on the possible scenarios in ICC, issuing a warrant of arrest for Duterte, as well as his legal team's preparations for how to handle it. According to the New York Times, in preparation for the possible issuance of an arrest warrant by the ICC, the Philippine National Police, PNP, had discreetly prepared an 80-page plan for Duterte's arrest with the codename Operation Pursuit. In it, they laid out scenarios for how the arrest of Duterte might play out in either Manila, or Davao City, with maps of Duterte's properties as well as his allies' properties included in the document. PNP Police General Nicolas Torre himself later recalled planning the entire operation once it was entrusted to him, stating that, "I really told them that let me succeed and fail on my plans. Because if I succeed based on my plans. If I fail, I fail on my plans and also, so there's no one else to blame but me. From March 10th to the morning of March 11th, hundreds of police officers were deployed at Francisco Bangoy International Airport in Davao City, the Clark Freeport Zone in Pampanga, and Metro Manila. The Manila Times reported that this was in preparation for the possible arrest of a high-profile but unidentified individual, widely speculated to be Duterte, who was set to return to the Philippines from Hong Kong. Prior to Duterte's return to the Philippines, his group had booked 5 separate flights back to the country in order to confuse authorities upon arrival. Rumors circulated that Duterte had sought political asylum in China. However, Sara Duterte stated that her father had not been in contact with Chinese officials during his stay, handcuffed him for obstruction of justice, and read him his Miranda rights. Media Aldea soon acquiesced, and when Torre made moves to arrest El Bra as well, Duterte submitted and boarded the coaster to the jet. In later interviews, Torre stated that the PNP accommodated nearly all of Duterte's requests, including food, medical attention, and legal counsel, except for his request not to be taken to The Hague. When Torre asked Avancenia for Duterte's medical conditions, prescribed medicines, and possible list of allergies, she declined to answer. According to Torre and PNP spokesperson Jean Fajardo, the PNP exercised maximum tolerance throughout Duterte's arrest and detention, prohibiting officers from making physical contact with him and instructing them not to retaliate against any verbal or physical assault from his party. For the Philippine government, the process of securing flight permits from other countries for Duterte's chartered plane was a difficult task. Some countries such as Vietnam, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates took hours before they responded to the request, with the latter two having shortened their working hours in accordance with Ramadan. On Facebook, lawyer and PDP senatorial candidate Raul Lambino falsely claimed that a temporary restraining order, TRO, had been issued by the Supreme Court for police authorities, which would have prevented them from bringing Duterte to The Hague. KOJC lawyer Israelito Torion went to the court at night with Lambino to allegedly confirm the TRO's issuance and receive the hard copy. Although he later recanted his claim, Lambino was soon disparaged by lawmakers for spreading false information, with the Supreme Court itself stating that it will investigate how the false TRO claim had spread. After a delay of a few hours due to revisions in the manifest, Avancenia declined to join Duterte, allegedly citing a lack of a passport despite having traveled to Hong Kong with him. A government-chartered Gulfstream G550 jet, registered RP C5219, departed Manila at 23:03 PHT UTC Paseo 8 Auspoa, carrying Duterte, his legal counsel Media Aldea, in his party. The jet, leased from the office of the President of the Philippines, made a layover at Al Maktoum International Airport in the United Arab Emirates before landing at Rotterdam, the Hague Airport in the Netherlands at 4:54 p.m. local time the next day. President Bongbong Marcos held a press conference minutes after Duterte's plane departed Villamor Air Base, clarifying that the arrest was carried out not on behalf of the ICC, which the Philippines is not a member of, but in cooperation with Interpol. Marcos emphasized that the Philippines, as part of the international community, must uphold its commitments and responsibilities. Protests and mass actions. Widespread protests and mass actions, both in support of and against Duterte, were held across the Philippines and abroad following his arrest. Pro-Duterte protests were held mostly in Mindanao and the Visayas. General Santos, on March 16th. The demonstration called for accountability, justice, and the protection of human rights for marginalized fisherfolk who suffered during Duterte's administration. The progressive group Partido Lakas and Masa also staged a demonstration at the Welcome Rotunda on March 19th, urging the Marcos administration to decisively break from the Duterte administration's oppressive policies and human rights violations. A mass in honor of victims of the drug war was celebrated at Cubao Cathedral in Quezon City by Program Pagilom, a human rights organization that supports victims' families. Former Duterte administration officials and allies, Salvador Panelo, the former chief presidential legal counsel and presidential spokesperson of Rodrigo Duterte, lambasted Duterte's arrest as unlawful, stating that the Philippines was no longer a member of the ICC. The Supreme Court, to which he is answerable as an officer of the court, had previously ruled that the country remained obliged to cooperate with the ICC regarding events leading up to its withdrawal. Duterte's daughter, Philippine Vice President Sara Duterte, criticized the Philippine government while announcing that her father would be flown to the International Criminal Court. In her statement, she considered her father's detention to be a blatant affront to our sovereignty and an insult to every Filipino who believes in our nation's independence. She labeled his arrest as state kidnapping. While on a flight to the Netherlands on March 12th, Vice President Duterte changed her profile pictures on Facebook and X to a digital red ribbon containing the text, "Bring PRRD home." Duterte's son and Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte alleged on Facebook that his father was being denied medical care while in custody and that the government was trying to get him to board a plane without disclosing the destination. The Philippine government maintained that Duterte was in good condition. On March 14, 2025, Sara Duterte publicly disclosed that she would not return to the Philippines for an unspecified period, stating that she would focus on forming her father's legal team. The next day, Sara stated that she would not return to her country until another family relative arrived in the Netherlands to accompany her father. On April 7, 2025, she returned to the Philippines. Sebastian Duterte has alleged that search warrants have been issued for the residences of his father and other members of the Duterte family, which the PNP has denied. In a statement in the Netherlands on March 16th, Sara Duterte stated that she expected evidence against her family to be planted during a police search. Former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, who is seeking recognition as legal counsel for Rodrigo Duterte at the ICC, reiterated Duterte's wish to be tried in the Philippines in a Facebook post. Roque stated that he anticipates receiving information regarding potential ICC arrest warrants against other individuals connected to Duterte's drug war, including Senator Ronald De La Rosa, who served as the chief of the Philippine National Police, PNP, from 2016 to 2018 during the peak of the drug war, and other former PNP chiefs. Roque, who has previously advised De La Rosa and other former PNP chiefs on ICC-related matters, highlighted the ICC's use of the term co-perpetrator in Duterte's warrant, suggesting that other high-ranking officials could also be identified as equally responsible for the alleged crimes. Philippine government officials' killings. Agnes Calamard, Secretary General of Amnesty International, called Duterte's arrest a monumental step for justice. Calamard previously served as Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial, summary, or arbitrary executions under the United Nations Human Rights Council, which included conducting investigations in the Philippines. She was barred from visiting the country during Duterte's presidency. The International Coalition for Human Rights in the Philippines described the arrest as a resounding message that crimes against humanity will not go unpunished. Human Rights Watch said that former President Duterte's arrest and transfer to The Hague is a long overdue victory against impunity that could bring victims and their families a step closer to justice. Religious community. In a press statement, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines described Duterte's arrest as a crucial step toward accountability, stating it sets an important precedent for addressing past and future human rights violations in the Philippines. In contrast, the Archbishop of Davao, Romulo Valle, said, "Justice must be pursued with fairness and integrity. It must remain free from partisan political motivations or personal vendettas," and offered prayers for Duterte and his family while reiterating calls for accountability. The Iglesia Ni Cristo criticized Duterte's arrest and said he should have been tried in the Philippines. It also accused the Marcos administration of politicking and failing to listen to the group's calls for peace, unity, and the need to first address the problems of our country and our countrymen. International China. On March 11th, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning stated that the ICC should strictly follow the principle of complementarity, exercise its functions and powers prudently in accordance with the law, and prevent politicization or double standards. On March 24th, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun said that China did not receive an application for asylum from Duterte or his family. Malaysia, former Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad criticized the International Criminal Court, ICC, for alleged double standards in its handling of Duterte's case. He questioned why the ICC acted against Duterte while seemingly not taking similar action against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Mahathir stated, "International law is only applicable when the person is not powerful enough to resist or deny the right of the ICC." United Nations at a press conference, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights spokesperson Ravina Shamdasani stated that they have long documented the severe human rights impacts of the so-called war on drugs in the Philippines. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk welcomed the arrest, saying that the extremely serious charges against Duterte will now be addressed fairly and independently, in full accordance with the law. Aftermath. Duterte appeared via video link before the ICC for the first time on March 14, during which he was informed of the charges against him. He is set to be arraigned in The Hague on charges of crimes against humanity at the ICC and will remain in custody at the ICC section of the United Nations Detention Unit while awaiting trial. The confirmation of charges was scheduled for September 23, 2025, but was postponed indefinitely by the ICC judges on September 8, 2021, to permit further testing to determine whether Duterte was fit to stand trial. On March 18, Vice President Sara Duterte, who traveled to the Netherlands, announced that Medial Dea and former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque would no longer be part of her father's ICC defense team. The team will instead be led by British-Israeli lawyer Nicholas Kaufman, who has extensive ICC experience. Medial Dea previously appeared before the ICC pretrial chamber during Duterte's initial hearing, while Roque was not formally nominated to the team. The indictment against Duterte, which was made public on September 22, 2021, accused him of involvement in the murders of 76 people between 2013 and 2018. 57 of the killings took place during his presidency, and the other 19 occurred during his term as mayor of Davao City. Possible future arrests: the Philippine government states it will serve future warrants for the ICC if such are conveyed through Interpol. The ICC mentions 9 other co-perpetrators of Rodrigo Duterte, whose names are redacted in a document. Harry Roque mentioned that former police chief Ronald De La Rosa could be among them, along with 4 other police heads. Following the Duterte's arrest, De La Rosa declared he is willing to join Duterte in The Hague if all legal remedies are exhausted. However, De La Rosa went to an undisclosed location within the Philippines. He has considered hiding from authorities. Online propaganda. Soon after Duterte's arrest, online propaganda emerged depicting Duterte as a victim or attacking drug war victims' families. The ICC and its judges were subjected to online attacks, while coordinated disinformation questioned the ICC's jurisdiction and the legality of the arrest. Other types of false information and flawed arguments were also widely shared. Within 12 hours of the arrest, 200 Facebook pages and accounts posted identical texts that accused police of kidnapping Duterte, even before Duterte lawyers made similar claims. Similar posts were shared on pro-Duterte Facebook pages, as well as on entertainment fan pages. In a developing story drawing international attention, the International Criminal Court has officially denied the appeal for interim release filed on behalf of the former Philippine leader. This decision marks another significant moment in an ongoing legal battle that has captivated both the Philippines and observers around the world. According to the ICC's ruling, the court found no sufficient grounds to grant temporary release while proceedings continue. The move underscores the ICC's firm stance as it pushes forward with its investigation, a process closely watched by global institutions, legal experts, and millions of Filipinos. Reactions across the Philippines remain mixed. Supporters stand by the former president, insisting the investigation is politically motivated. Critics, meanwhile, claim the decision reflects the court's commitment to accountability and international law. This latest development raises new questions about political stability, justice, and international cooperation. What comes next will depend on both the ICC's next steps and the response from the Philippine government and its people. For now, the world watches closely as the case moves forward. This is the Atlas of Everything, bringing you clarity, context, and global perspective on the events shaping our world.
Ang ginawa niya, kinain ni Eve. Tapos si Eve, ginising si Adam, siguro katatapos lang, kumain ka rin. So kinain ni Adam. Then malice was born. Who is this stupid God? Stupid mo talaga itong putang akong ganun. You created something perfect, and then you think of an event that would time and destroy the quality of your work. How can you rationalize it that? Maniwala. Oh, ikaw, maniwala ka? Kaya sabi ko diya, maniwala niya. So tayo ngayon, all of us are born with an original sin. Ang original sin, that I said, ano man yan? Was it the first kiss? O what was the sin? Bakit original? Nasa womb ka pa, may kasalanan ka na. Hindi, tsuktsak mo lang ng nanay pati tatay mo, wala ka magkasali. Tapos ngayon, may original sin ka. Panginang klase. Anong klaseng reliyon yan? Ayan ang hindi ko matanggap.